Welcome to those of you joining us on the back end in Zoom. I'm just going to give it about 30 seconds here to get started. This is being recorded, and I am going to share my screen. If you're joining us on Lab Code Agents, welcome. It's great to see you. Even though I don't see you, you see me. And I am going to present here in just a second. And if you have any questions, please throw them in the chat. Jake will be watching and can funnel them. So if you're on Facebook, put them in the comments and Jake will pass them to me in Zoom. If you're in Zoom, just ask the questions directly in the chat. Otherwise, let's get started. Give me 1 second here to start the presentation. Here we go. All right. Jake, can you see my presentation? Social media should be your #1 prospecting tool. Perfect. All righty. Well, obviously, here you go. This is the title for today's conversation. And those of you who know me, you already know that I'm insanely passionate about this. And I'm passionate about it not because I listen to other people tell me I should be passionate about it, or because I'm a disciple of people like Gary Vee, but because I'm living proof of it. And so just to give you a little bit of context for those of you that don't know who I am, I have a background in the mortgage industry, although I've pretty much scaled almost completely out of it and into a lot of other things, including that. But as a result of what social media has done for my business, it has scaled my mortgage business to 5x. It has helped me to become a partner in several platforms, Business Video School being one, Drunk on Social with Tristan. I have my own platform called Fitzer Media, where I do a lot of coaching, do a lot of brand management, and I have grown a very large influence in a geographic area, in this particular case, the Lake of the Ozarks, which is in Missouri. And I was approached about 6 months ago to become a partner in a brokerage. And now we are in the process of growing a brokerage. And I am a 50-50 partner with my partner. And basically, because of the influence, the attraction of real estate agents, and the next step is attracting business, which is listings, buyers, etc. And it's all around social. And so I really truly believe that social media should be your #1 prospecting tool. I do believe that most of you are looking at social media all wrong. And if you're not, then I applaud you. But for those of you that look at social as, entertainment, that place that you go to watch reels, to watch TikToks, to be entertained, to giggle, to kill time, that's where you have to kind of shift your mindset, because in our industry, we do things the way we've always done things. And I am not advocating to stop doing things like traditional prospecting, like calling expireds and FSBOs and doing mailers and door knocking and all the things, right? However, if you start to put social media as a primary prospecting tool, not only is it potentially going to complement what you're already doing, but if you do it correctly and you do it for a period of time, it will completely allow you to move away from all of the antiquated things that you probably don't like doing anyway, and you'll start to attract business. And so as I go through this, first things first, the most obvious is this is all about social. I am a practitioner of everything that I preach. I live what I teach. I'm the one doing it. So I'm sharing what's working, what's not working. I'm not telling my audience or the people that I coach to do things that I'm not doing myself. And so connect with me. If you're not already connected with me on social, it's a great place to stay in touch. It's a great place to watch, because I am, again, putting out a lot of tips and a lot of content that is value-based for you real estate professionals. And it's a great place if you ever need to reach out to me on a personal level. You can DM me on Facebook Messenger, Instagram, and I will always respond and connect with you. So I'm easy to find. It's just find me by my name. That is my name on all of the platforms. TikTok is the only one. You can still find me by my name, but it's called Lake of the Ozarks Lifestyle, as I just described. So let's connect. So this is kind of this is my quote unquote theory, is that attention is where the most successful businesses of all kinds are going to evolve and grow and dominate. And as most of you know, this isn't necessarily anything new. When you think about companies like Nike and Coke and Pepsi, and obviously the reason why they are what they are is because they were really great at owning attention and conveying a brand. And as the world evolves into this new-ish world of social media, and you think ahead, right? So, right, we're living in a world where this is already starting to take over, and I'm going to show you some data that backs that up. But when you think ahead, for those of you that have been in the real estate business for as long as I have or longer, which for me it's 23 years, you know that the cycle we're living in right now is probably, I would say it is the worst cycle I've seen in my career. I don't know if there was a worse cycle before me, before 2000, but this is the worst. And at the same token, if you've been through cycles before, you know what follows a downturn. And usually it's an uptick that is the equivalent of the downturn. And in this particular case, I'm not just guessing and saying that, I'm saying it because I know historical data tells me that you have two generations of humans that now stretch into their 40s, which is millennials, and then you've got these Gen Zers who now stretch into their mid 20s who have not bought real estate like generations before them. And we all know why they're sitting on the sideline. There's a combination of reasons, at least for millennials. They watched their parents go through the struggles in 07 and 08, which gave them a bad taste in their mouth for real estate, but they're past that now. And now everyone's just priced out. They're priced out, with prices. They're priced out with lack of inventory. They're priced out with interest rates, right? But when those two generations, when things shift, how do they find what they buy? How do they find the real estate agent that they're going to use? And the answer is going to be through social media. The answer is that these generations of humans, whether we like it or not, don't do things the way previous generations did it. And the way that they interact and want to interact is not face to face. They want to do their own homework on their services and products and people before they decide if you're worthy of their time. And that's just the way that it is. And that's the way that it's continuing to be. And that's why owning that attention and being able to display a brand that connects with people is so critically important. And today I'm going to talk a little bit more about some very specific strategies, not necessarily posting strategies. Again, if you know me, you've heard me talk before, you know how I talk about that. You should lean into your authenticity. I'm not telling you anything new here. But here's the data. Social media is being used by 4.6 billion people. This is last year, by the way. This is only going to continue to increase. Last year, on average, we're spending 2.5 hours a day on social. And just to articulate that for you, to help you understand it from a psychology perspective, is that your consumer in today's world now spends their time watching their shows. Think Seinfeld and whatever, soap operas, all the things we used to do 10, 15, 20 years ago. Now they spend that time scrolling through social. And I use this example all the time. And I'm sure many of you can attest to this. My wife will come into the living room. She'll sit down on the couch. She'll turn on the TV. She'll lay back and then get on her phone. And I'm like, why did you just turn on the television? And she'll be like, background noise. And I just sit and watch and I just giggle. And I'm like, that's the reality. Like that. I know she's not the anomaly. She's not a unicorn. This is what we do. And now you have this opportunity right in front of your face to meet your consumer where they want to be met. And you're a consumer too. Like you're just sitting there and watching like they are when you have this opportunity, when all of your past customers, new potential customers, your friends and family, everyone is using this as a place where they just kill time and are entertained and soak up information. And you have this free opportunity to be in front of them at all hours of every day, no matter what they're doing. And when you think of it from a historical perspective, you think about, how did we market our business up until today. And it's things like billboards, it's mailers, as I mentioned, it's television, it's radio, it's grocery store carts, it's signs in yards, it's all of the things that traditionally and still do cost money if you want to do those forms of advertising, and they're very narrow. A billboard, for example, which, we as real estate agents, between us and attorneys, we pretty much have completely, spammed the hell out of billboards. But it's a narrow reach, and it costs money, and it's only for people that are going down that particular road. And you've got this medium that's social media, where people are rolling over in the morning and picking up their phone, choosing to consume. They're going and sitting in the toilet, and they're choosing to scroll social media. They're sitting on the couch and they're choosing to scroll social media. They're sitting out at the dinner table choosing to scroll social media. They're sitting in the office. You get the point, right? This is where they're choosing to be, and you can show up organically and for free. And just to give a little bit more data, this, almost 70% of U.S. adults are on social. It says there are a few places. I correct that and say there is no place which is as effective at reaching consumers, period. There's no place better that you can have an exponential omnipresence in front of your consumers, literally whenever they choose to get on. And on average, we're doing it 2.5 hour per day clip. And that, folks, is only going to continue to increase as time goes on. And I've already mentioned this, but it's about meeting your clients where they're at. And I know you've heard this before. This isn't anything new. However, what do we do? What do we do as real estate professionals? We do this. We call them, we text them, we email them, and we door knock. That's what we do. And when you really think about, again, you go back to the psychology piece of how we're trying to reach our consumer. All four of these and anything else you can come up with are kind of invasive to them. And we're guilty of it as well. We're all hypocrites, because I guarantee I could literally pull a million real estate agents and ask them, do you take spam calls from politicians? Do you take spam calls from salespeople? Do you respond to text messages, people trying to sell you stuff? Do you actively engage with the email spam that you get from a number of sources? And do you love it when somebody knocks on your door to solicit and sell you something? And I know the answer is no, emphatic no. In fact, most of you probably have engaged in do not call lists, and you've opted out of text, and you've unsubscribed from emails. And most of us probably live in subdivisions where there's no soliciting signs at the beginning. Yet we think that because we're real estate agents, that's how people should want to engage us. Yet we're very hypocritical in that mindset, because we don't want it either. And so I'm not advocating that this stuff's just going to go away. It's not. It's going to become complementary to what I believe you should be doing, which is building that brand and prospecting through social media. Because here's the deal. When you think about all of those ways I just described, and I'm going to just use myself as an example, and I know I'm the norm here. I'm not an anomaly. Is that, I don't answer my phone. And first of all, let me give you some context. I'm 46 years old, so I'm a Gen Xer. I'm my kids. I have two older kids that are both in their low 20s. They call me a boomer because that's just what they call people that are older than them. I'm not technically a baby boomer, but I'm a boomer in their mind, right? So I'm not young comparatively. Now, when you think about those ways that we communicate with people, so as a 46-year-old, I don't answer my phone ever unless you're in my phone, and even B, I have to be in the mood to answer my phone. I just don't like answering my phone anymore. And I know that might sound goofy to some of you that love phone calls, but I know this because I talk to a lot of people, and more people are becoming more and more like me. It's just the way we're now changing and evolving and being wired. I'm the same way with text messaging. I'm the same way with email. We all are. And God forbid, you don't knock on my damn door unless you're the Amazon delivery guy. I have a Ring camera, and I am not going up to the door, because the last thing I want to do is engage in a conversation with somebody selling me something, right? And so and Corley, I love text too, but I don't like being solicited via text. Like, that's how I want to communicate with people. But as I'm talking about dopamine here, when you think about those things and the way people feel about being contacted in those ways, and then you think about social media. And so for all of you that are here or listening to this today, I'm going to assume that at some point in your life, you've posted on social media. And more specifically, let's just say you've posted a video on social media. If you've done that, you know the range of emotion that is caused, that can be created after you post. You post a video, and let's just say it performs well. Now, let's be honest, more times than not, it doesn't perform well. But when it does perform well, what happens? Like, we feel really good about it. First of all, we become obsessed with our own post. If you have a spouse, you're probably telling your spouse, honey, my video's up to 500 views. Oh, honey, it's now up to 1,000. Honey, it's up to 5,000 now. And you become obsessed and consumed with it because you're getting hit with that feel good hormone. It feels good. And so when you think about that, and then you put your sales hat back on and you think about your consumers doing the same thing. This isn't abnormal. This isn't just us real estate professionals or people that post on social media. Anybody who posts on social media, they posted for a reason, right? And for most of our consumers, our neighbors, our friends and family, our past customers, our SOI, those types of people, most of them use social media for what it was intended, which is social media, to stay in touch with people, to be entertained. So when they do share on social, it must be a good reason for that. Like, they're sharing their little kid won the ball game, or they're sharing funny videos of their dogs, or they're sharing what they just cooked on the grill or in the kitchen, or they're sharing their travels. Like, they're genuinely doing it to stay in touch with their friends and family. And just like you, when they post, what happens? When people comment, it makes them feel good. They notice, they see it in their notifications. Most of the time, they're at the very least going to like your authentic comment that you made to them. They're going to probably engage you back. You're hitting them with dopamine. And so that's why, to me, your number one prospecting strategy on social media that everyone should employ, it's not about posting, although that's extremely important, but you don't have to. If you just use social as a way to stay top of mind with your clients, and you literally spend time every day, I'd say 60 minutes. This is a slide that Tristan has shared in the past where it says 20 minutes. Like, don't sell yourself short here. The truth is, it's not going to take you a lot of time, but if you were strategic and intentional about your use of social media, and you had your list, you had this ABC list, or you had your A to Z list of all of your past customers and potential people that would do business with you, people that you were targeting, friends and family, all that sort of thing. You literally have this list, which you should have. Then you go to social every day and you're just stalking. Now, here's the reality. Very few of them are posting consistently. Most of these people are maybe posting once a month, maybe once a week, not that often. But if you make it a point of staying top of mind by communicating and leaving comments and hitting them with that dopamine consistently, what's going to happen? Well, there's a number of things. First of all, they're going to feel good, right? You're going to be the reason why they feel good. That's going to level you up. That's going to raise you up in their mind. Also, there's this little thing called the algorithm, and it's paying attention. And you know what the algorithm is doing, right? It's basically trying to determine what's worthy of being seen on someone's feed. Is there a like-minded interest? Do they have something in common? Do they live in a similar area? All those sorts of things, right? That's what the algorithm is doing. There's not a human doing this. It's a computer. And so as you're continually engaging with these people that matter to you and your business, and then you're employing a consistent posting strategy, what's happening? The answer is your content is showing up on their feed more often. And again, I'm not going to spend any time going into a content strategy today because we just don't have the time. But the reality is, no matter what you're posting, which you all know I advocate for more authentic content, as I've already mentioned, but they're still going to start to see your stuff because the algorithm's paying attention. They're going to see you're consistently engaging with them, which means it's going to show their stuff to you, but also in most cases, it's going to see that these people that you're hitting with the dopamine are going to be commenting back. And so the algorithm is simplistic in the mindset of, oh, they must like each other. That's it. Because the algorithm has one job. keep people on the platforms. And so the algorithm's job is to show people what it thinks you want to see. And it typically is going to favor things that you engage with. So this is something you should be employing every single day. I'm not even talking 5 days a week. I'm talking 7 days a week. I'm talking you should always be cognizant. You're already on social. Now just make this a point. Don't be a lurker. Be an intentional consumer who's engaging with your past customers. That's very, very important. Now, we all know what's coming up, and I've kind of beaten this in. I just flew back from Washington, D.C., where I was doing a presentation to a bunch of real estate agents, and that's why I had this slide in here. What I told them was, I said, you know what's coming up, right? You know what's right around the corner next year. And I said, you also know what's coming with that. An onslaught of marketing that's going to annoy the piss out of us. It's just the truth. It's going to annoy us to no end. And the reality is this election, this incoming onslaught of marketing is what we do 24/7, 365. And somewhere along the way, we thought that was a good idea. And for most of us, vast majority of us, if I was to do an assessment of your social media and I saw that your primary posting strategy looks something like this, the reality is what I'm going to find is that you probably have very little engagement. And for most of you, because I get this feedback a lot, they'll tell me, yeah, social doesn't work. And my response is that no, social does work. It's just not working. You're not doing it correctly. And so again, as you're thinking about a potential social strategy, as you're thinking about your content strategy, just remind yourself when you're getting annoyed with the phone calls and the text messages and the emails and the commercials and all this stuff with politicians, that basically we are worse than them in reality. And so definitely definitely keep that top of mind as you are essentially spamming your audience. And here's just some additional data, and Lisa, I will get to your question. The top uses of social media, this is not me making this up. This comes from a source, Oberlo, which is that does social media analytics. And these are the top uses of social media. And honestly, I don't think this is going to surprise anyone. This is what people do. I mean, they're there. I mean, why was Facebook originally created? It was to stay in touch with your college friends, basically. And then it just kind of evolved into what it is today. And us, as my kids would say, us boomers took it over. But the goal or the use has never changed. It's killing time. That's the reality. We kill time by scrolling Instagram Reels and TikTok and watching YouTube videos. It's become a very probably one of the most reliable news sources because truthfully, news stations are biased, and typically they're putting out news based upon who's paying them the most money. And when us, just average humans are sharing the news, we are not giving it, we don't have any bias. And so a lot of people are turning to social for news. It's finding content. It's, I know I go to Google and search how to do something all the time, which then usually takes me to YouTube. It's just the way it is. And so these are the reasons why people are on social, and this is where they're spending their time. So the average social media user is spending the most time on TikTok. It's because probably the algorithm is the most advanced, almost an hour a day. YouTube's close behind at almost 50 minutes a day. Twitter, X is almost 35 minutes. Snapchat, Instagram, Facebook are all half an hour a day. Reddit, not necessarily as relevant, but the point is, this is where you should pay attention to this stuff because this is where people are spending time, and this is where you can really grow your reach, which will grow the attention in front of your consumers. Now, one more piece of strategy that I'm going to give you before we wrap up is around a posting strategy. And I didn't come up with this, and I've heard different variations of it. They're all very useful. But the way I articulate it, that Rachel Lee Adams shared with me, is 5 minutes before you post, find 5 people in your audience and go comment 5 words or more. So this kind of goes back to the same as the LCM strategy, except this is more strategic about your posting. And I think what it does more than anything is the cadence. It's creating a muscle memory. It's training the algorithm of that connection, right? And so doesn't matter if it's 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes, probably not. Does it matter? Does it only have to be 5? No, it could be 10, 15, 20, 50, whatever you want it to be. 5 words or more is very intentional, because telling you to comment on somebody's post 5 words or more forces you to be more authentic rather than just leaving some emojis, right? So that's the challenge that is kind of granted here, is before you go to post, make it a habit of going and seeking out those people. The thing you should already be doing anyway. If you're executing on the LCM, you don't necessarily have to do this, but if you're not, this is a great way to get your content to show up on the people's feeds that you wanted to show up on. So if you're a leader, for example, and you recruit, well, this is very obvious. If you're recruiting agents, you're recruiting people, loan officers, well, go do this. Go intentionally comment and connect with these people so your content shows up and you stay top of mind. If you know that there's a neighbor in your neighborhood that's considering selling and you really hope they choose you, I mean, this is the best way to subliminally steal their mind share. It's to go connect with them on social, which will then increase the odds that your content shows up on their feed, which means you will steal their mind share and they won't even realize why they're choosing you to sell their house. This is just a very, very effective method. The last piece of advice is Facebook, and specifically Facebook groups, because there's this statistic that I dug up in the last 6 months that almost 75% of social media users say that the most important group in their life is online. And I know what some of you are probably thinking. You're thinking, wow, that's nuts. Like, that's really messed up. But that's the reality. That's the world we now live in. And that world's only going to continue to head in that direction. And, you know, it was exaggerated by COVID, but we were heading that way anyway. And so here you are, most of us, we're either doing one of two things. We either have a CRM through our company and we don't use it. We have a CRM and we use it. And either way you look at it, it's not very effective in many cases. Now, if you're buying leads and you're a hardcore lead person, it does have obviously some very useful uses. But as in this true sense of a CRM, which is, you know, customer relationship manager, you know, what's the best way to stay in touch and top of mind with my clients? And when you think about what a traditional CRM is, you close a transaction, or, you know, you enter into an agreement with a consumer, and then you just arbitrarily dump them into your CRM, and then you just start basically spamming them. That's what we do. We're not sending them really anything of value. We're usually sending them like real estate stuff, news, and advice that they didn't ask for and they don't necessarily want. And most of them actually unsubscribe. And I know the data backs that up. Now, when you think about everything that I just described, and then you couple it with the fact that, you know, Facebook groups are the place where people feel at peace and at home, like, why not shift your mindset and your strategy to making a Facebook group your CRM? And so now every time that you close a deal with a customer, or you have a new client, or you come in contact with a new potential customer, the first thing you should be doing is, hey, I have this group for all of my friends and family and past clients. I put out content around the community. It's all value-based. It's stuff that will help you. It's stuff talking about what's coming up, what events, you know, where's the best trunk or treats, and Thanksgiving things, and breakfast with Santas, and pictures with Santa, and, you know, all the things going on in the community. Go join that group, and you get them to do it right then and there. Now, all of a sudden, you just pull them into your web. You're putting them into a quote unquote CRM that they choose to be on, right? They didn't ask you to email them or text them, but they're choosing to have to open Facebook every day. And so consider shifting. And I wouldn't probably get rid of a CRM, especially if you're using it. It's going to work complementary with each other, but shifting to a Facebook group as your CRM arguably could be far more effective than a traditional CRM. And this is going back to just the prospecting. Lisa, I want to jump to your question real quick. The LCM interaction should happen from your personal accounts, correct? Yeah. In fact, I mean, ditching business pages. So you're obviously talking, I think, about Facebook here. I will say real quickly, Instagram, you should only have one page. You're just creating more work for yourself by having two. And it should be a creator page, not a business, not a personal. It's different than Facebook. It just gives you more tools on Instagram. And what you really should be doing, in my opinion, is on your Instagram, if you only have one page, it should be about, you know, roughly 80-20, authentic content to 20% business. Now, there is a time in your career where once you earn the attention, you earn the audience, you can shift that a little bit and go a little heavier on business. But as you're earning the attention, you got to be lean heavy into who you are as a human being. Now on Facebook, it's different. A business page still has a function as a yellow pages, because the yellow pages don't exist anymore, and it has a function at running ads. So if you're running ads, you might need a business page. I just wouldn't spend a lot of time on it. So I wouldn't necessarily dump it. I just wouldn't spend much time there. And when you're posting there, maybe occasionally share that post over to your personal, but the magic's happening in your personal pages. Everybody knows this. And so, yes, to answer your question, absolutely 1,000,000% engage on a personal level, because when people see that you're pushing your business, no matter what it is, on them, you immediately become like a used car salesman in their mind. And it's, we put up our guard, and we all do it, but yet we market that way. So I hope that helps. As far as this last slide is concerned, I think it's the last slide. Optimizing your bio. So when you're thinking about, and I show my Instagram and my TikTok here, Facebook's a little bit different. The bio looks a little bit different. The one mistake that I see a lot of real estate agents make is when you go to your bio, and there's a couple things here. When I go to your Facebook profile, or I go to your Instagram bio or your TikTok bio, it's very heavy on real estate. In fact, I had a real estate agent come up to me yesterday at this event in DC, and she showed me her profiles, and her Instagram profile, as you can see here, how it's bullet point listed for me, it was everything real estate. It was real estate agent. It was top 5 producer. It was focusing on these areas, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, what is that as a consumer? What does that scream to me? It screams to me that, why would I want to follow you? I don't need to follow another real estate agent. I don't need more real estate agent content. I don't need more real estate content. And all you're doing is telling me that this is a spam account and I don't want to follow you. Why are people on Instagram? And so when I say optimize your bio, there's a couple of things to it. Number one, make sure it's aesthetically pleasing. Like if I go to your Instagram bio and there's nothing there, no one's going to follow you. You're not giving them any reason to follow you. Number two, the aesthetic part is bullet point it like I have here with emojis, because we as humans like pictures. Like we were always drawn to books that have pictures in them versus books that don't have pictures in them. It's the same psychology here. And so bullet point yourself, use emojis for the bullet points, and then give your audience, the people that might consider following you, a reason to follow you. So tell them who you are through these bullet points, but also make sure that what you're bullet pointing here is telling them, if you follow me, this is what you can expect. And so again, you got to take your real estate hat off and realize that consumers are not following us because we're real estate agents. That's not why they're interested in us. They're interested in us because they also have a French bulldog. They're interested in us because they also golf. They're interested in us because they also love to cook. They're interested in us because they like following our travels. That's why people follow us. They're interested in us because they also have toddlers, or because they also have grandkids. You name it. I can go, just the reasons can go on and on and on and on. But make sure you're optimizing that bio so that when people actually click on something, that they go to your profile, which they will if you're creating content, that you give them a reason to want to follow you and want to connect with you. And again, understanding that it's not about real estate. Nobody's following us or connecting with us for real estate. Yes, there are a few unicorns, but they're going to remain unicorns. And we are never going to overcome that. And so with all of that said, I'm gonna see if there's any other questions. If you have any questions, throw them in there now. I do have a email newsletter. And so I don't sell anything. All I do is exactly what I tell you. I've had a lot of people ask me over the years, they say, they'll ask me a question about social, and I say, did you not see that post? And they'll be like, damn, Jeff, you post so much, I can't keep up. And I'm like, you know what? That's a good point. So I'm going to create an email newsletter. And what I did is I just aggregate my 3 best value-based posts every week from Instagram, and I just send them via an email. I send an email every Tuesday with 3 posts that from the previous week that you might have missed, that are going to be something that give you a tip, that help you with your social. And then I also give a bonus tip just to kind of keep your head in the right place, so you're not forgetting to post things like like right now around Halloween. And so if you're interested in joining my email newsletter list, just take a picture of that and sign up. Otherwise, let me check the engagement here. I know we're a little bit over time. Martin, thanks. I hate mixing personal life with my business life. Yeah, I mean, I get it, man. But it's again, when you really sit back, and I've done this, and really I study it through my practice, right? And I've had a lot of success with this. And what I realized, and this was about 6, 7 years ago, I quickly realized, because I was a very early practitioner of this, and I was just simply watching the analytics. Also, remind you, I was solely mortgage back then. And so, when I was going to social and talking about mortgage, I was like, God, this is boring. Like, this is boring to me, and I'm in the business. This has got to be boring to everybody else. And now here we are, fast forward 6, 7 years, and it's like we've now inundated social media. I swear real estate agents have taken over the term used car salesman. It used to be they were the slimy ones. Now we're the slimy ones. And that's the reality. And Martin, and it's not uncommon. Like, I'm not chastising you for that, because what you say is common. But when you really sit back and understand why does my consumer go to social, and that's the thing. I'll leave you with this. Understand your avatar. Again, if you're a leader and your avatar is real estate agents because you're recruiting, there's a little bit different mindset. It's also low-hanging fruit. It's very easy. But if you are a real estate agent and your avatar is a consumer, a homeowner, a renter who wants to buy, put yourself in their shoes. Put their shoes on and understand. And I'm, by the way, for those of you that want to overachieve, I challenge you. Go out into the community. Use this as an excuse to reach out to your past clients, your friends and family, and say, hey, I'm doing some research because I'm making some shifts in my business. I just want to ask you a question as it relates to social media. First of all, where do you spend your time? And then why do you spend time there? Like, what are the reasons why you love social media? And let them tell you. They're going to validate everything I just told you. And oh, by the way, when you do this, now you have an excuse to say, that's great. Thank you so much for the feedback. Hey, I'm starting a group. It's for friends and family on Facebook. I'd love it for you to join. I'm not going to spam you with all the real estate stuff. It's only going to be value, and I'm going to run some contests and blah, blah. So that's your bonus tip here from this webinar. Thank you guys for being on. And as I mentioned, if you need to reach out to me, just find me on social, DM me, and always happy to connect. Thank you guys.